Hey, this is Eve, author of Detox with Ease. Detox your body, purify your life, feel great, look great, and be great. And that's not even an exaggeration. I just want to talk about highly sensitive people. I realized along my healing journey when I was healing from multiple chemical sensitivity that I was a highly sensitive person, and that actually was playing a role in the whole illness that I had at that time. So if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe, the bell button and all, and you're going to get notifications for when I come on live. And you can ask me any question you want. Doesn't even have to be on topic. Well, hopefully it's related. So when you have a multiple chemical sensitivity, you are sensitive to toxins, all the chemicals. And I literally, it sounds crazy, but I live in a city. I remember literally walking on the street, on the sidewalk, and I could literally smell the perfume of a woman in a car driving by with her windows rolled up. That sounds crazy, but if you have MCS, that might not be crazy. I could smell a bar of Dove soap, 20 feet away. Like, I later read that a person with a multiple chemical sensitivity usually has a sense of smell 100 to 1,000 times more than the average person. Now, there are people that have MCS that can't smell at all, and there's different mechanisms in MCS. Like, I'm not going to come on here and try to tell you the way that it manifested in me is exactly the same with all people, but in the great majority, there's a lot to do with smells. And because you're smelling, but I honestly think that the chemical sensitivity was a manifestation of an illness to protect me. I think my body had had enough toxins and didn't want any more toxins, not any more damage to my nervous system, no more damage to my gut. And so my body was like, okay, that's it, no more. And so when you react to toxins, you can't do any, like, I drink this soda now. It's my guilty pleasure. It's like root beer with monk fruit sweetener, probiotics. Before, I wouldn't eat this because I wouldn't touch aluminum. I know that these cans are generally lined with plastics. I wouldn't go near it. Now, I'm still a very detox person, but I can have like this sometimes, but I couldn't before. And if I just had to get rid of all toxins. So that's very sensitive when you can have a super awareness of toxins. And they are making you sick. So I'm not trying to say this is a mental disease, but there is a mental component, especially in my case. And even if there wasn't a mental component when you stopped, even if you just happened to got a very toxic overdose, over time, dealing with the trauma of having everything make you sick, your nervous system is creating, there will be a mental component because you will have PTSD just from, something makes you sick that much. Your body doesn't just be like, oh, I don't mind, it's fine. You might say that, but it's not true inside. Our brains adjust to our surroundings and they protect us from dangers. So whenever we smell a chemical, we're like, oh my God, it's huge danger. That's why healing does require, at least in my case, to have a mind, body. I had to heal and retrain my brain to not freak out every time it smelled a chemical. And even to this day, I might smell and I'd be like, oh my God. No, oh wait, you know what? Is it bothering my body? No, it's okay. Like, I wouldn't choose to buy that and put it in my house, but the brain remembers what has made it sick in the past. So that said, I'm a highly sensitive person, and I know that many people with chemical sensitivity are as well. I've been working with people for more than 10 years now. I've had helped a lot of people heal, talked with a lot of people, had a lot of coaching and clients. And a huge amount of us are like very intuitive people. Many of us are mystically gifted, as I am. We have that extrasensory, so that's what it's called. Like, even chemical sensitivity can be an extrasensory, because who can smell someone's deodorant 5 feet away? Most people cannot, but I could. So this is definitely like extrasensory perception. But I noticed I was like neurologically very sensitive, which I still am. Like, I couldn't just go live in a barrage of chemicals and feel good. Like I will notice an unhealthy environment because I'm a highly sensitive person. I read that along the way and I'm like, oh, okay, that's totally me. There's a very funny video called Sensitive People, which most chemical sensitivity people don't laugh, but it's so funny. My friend sent it to me. They're like, this is you, Eve. It's like somebody who's so sensitive to everything. And we can't help it. The thing is, like, I'm very sensitive to, emotionally, I'm very sensitive to colors. I'm a painter. One day I realized, I can see hundreds of colors, but most people can only see maybe 10. It is also, in my case, there's a lot of crossover with chemical sensitivity and autism. A psychologist once said they thought I was autistic. He was an awful psychologist. He was a really awful one. So I'm not really, but when I read about these people, I can relate. I can relate to that heightened sensitivity. Like I can really feel people's emotions. I'm very aware. I can just feel how people's health. I can meet somebody and I can be a medical intuitive because I can just see a person and I know, wow, you really could use some more vegetables, or you need to go grounding, or I can see somebody's health. And it's not necessarily psychic, which that is definitely an element, but it's just that I'm a very sensory perceptive person, so I'm sensing and noticing things, like not in my straight mind, but it's in the back of my mind. And since it's the way I've always been, and you may be that way too, you don't even notice it. But one day I realized I used to go to this martial arts club, and then I've always had some of my uncomfortability with people and stuff like that. Crowds, I can't go to crowds, like too much sensory perception. I can now, maybe. Because now that we're not allowed to go in crowds, I really want to go in a crowd. But so I would notice, I was like, I can tell all these things about people. I can tell this person is taking drugs, this person is depressed, this person has gut issues. And it's kind of hard sometimes for me to relate when I know so much about you. I realized that, just it was like a year and a half ago at this gym, and I realized, wow, it's kind of a burden, when you're over sensing things. Other people are just saying, hi, how's it going? Nice weather, and I'm like, oh, wow, you really have this issue with your gut bacteria. Like, I can just see it in the skin. I can just tell, and I can tell when somebody's depressed. I can hear things in people's voice, especially. You hear in their voice, oh, yeah, I'm doing great. And I'm like, I hear these little like sub vibes that are saying, wow, I can't hardly stand to wake up in the morning. So if you're like this, well, for me, it was super difficult because you grow up in a world that's very regimented and it's not super kind, at least in the world that I lived in. But I did learn a lot of how to manage it and how to not be so sensitive. It's a lot of what we do to take your and even trying not to notice people's illnesses or their bad feelings and stuff. And then if I do notice, not to have feelings about it, because many of us are very compassionate. You really feel like that. You want to help everybody. I mean, that's why I make these videos. I want to help everybody. I want everybody to get well. So you're like, oh, look at this person, they're not feeling good, and what can I do? But you realize it's really not my job to fix anyone. It's actually, crosses over into codependence. So how to be like, well, maybe I recognize this person has a little issue. Sometimes I have prayed for people still, like if I really feel a calling and a pull, somebody has a real bad injury or something, to have healing, power, and I can focus that energy, because it's really awareness. Now it's all coming into science. It's not just like hocus pocus. It's like I can focus my awareness and my positive vibes, and I can change the, chemical, physical structure of what I'm touching. So I'm not saying I'm magic going around like that. I don't really work as a healer anymore. It's just not what I'm into. But every now and again, like I'll feel in my spirit, like this person needs some prayer on their foot, you know, and I will go and ask. I mean, only a few times a year. They always say yes, and usually it works. But just very sensitive, and there's a lot of like empaths and all that out there on the internet. I don't really watch them too much because all my empath friends are like, it's easy to be depressed, it's easy to be oversensitive, it's easy to be like traumatized. Like little tiny things that people just wouldn't even notice can be like a huge trauma for me. You know, because I'm very sensitive, and it's how I am. So over time, what I've been doing, you know, with my chemical sensitivity, all my other sensitivities, is learn how to not be that way and how to operate, you know, in a good way. And I did some like energy exercises in my mind, which help a lot. I imagine myself in like a black obsidian globe. I haven't done it for a couple of years because I think now I've adjusted my whole being to not be so sensitive like that. But I used to be very sensitive, and you know, also weird stuff was always happening around. And that's my best way that I would protect myself. I tell all my sensitive friends that. I don't know if anyone ever did it, but it worked really good for me, because even if it's just the mind and the mind creating this idea that we're protected, you know, this obsidian is like, it means that people can't really see you, or they can't really penetrate you except to sort of go through this black filter. So yeah, I'm into all kinds of weird stuff I'm not even going to talk about. Because you know what, there's, okay, sensitivity, let me go back. So turns out, once I really did a lot of brain retraining, which you can come to my Mind Body Gym, the link is below in the description. We do Wim Hof meditation, which is an amazing thing for your mind. All kinds of exercise good for your mind. So done a lot of meditation, mind body, really stimulating my nervous system, healing my nervous system, so that it's not so sensitive negatively, but it can still be sensitive positively. So got distracted. Sensitivity, blah, 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 blah. What do I want to say? So basically, yeah, when you learn how to kind of take the worst qualities of being sensitive and kind of deal with those, generally in brain retraining, emotional retraining, meditation, things like that, then what you're left with is all of the positive qualities, which are amazing. Like, it's really great to be highly sensitive when you can manage it. So it turns out I'm like super genius. Like, I'm infinitely creative. I wrote 5 different books about 5 different things, and most people who know me don't even know I wrote a book, because I did so many other things too, you know. I'm like, well, I'm an artist and a performance artist, a dancer. I'm live streaming about crypto now. I did Bitcoin kindergarten. So like, there's all this connection. Like I'm able to, I'm not all blocked, and a lot of people are blocked and they have a very set mindset, so they can't venture out into a lot of different areas. But if you're a sensitive person, you generally can like connect, you know, with all kinds of different things, and even teach your mind to do math or whatever it is you want to do. So I just want to say that, you know, being sensitive is great, but it's great when you learn how to manage the worst parts of it. And, you know, we're humans. I'm always going to be sensitive, and, you know, it's a gift. It's what we're here for. It's like there's a certain percentage of the population that's very sensitive, and that's who we are. And we're very useful on the planet. We need a sensitive people. Sensitive people are great. But just, you have to get smart. You have to learn how to not get taken advantage of because you're too nice. Like, that's huge. Boundaries, codependent. There's a book. It's called Boundaries. And then there's another book called Codependent No More. They're both Christian, like written by Christians, but they are not Christian books. Anyone should read them. And they're very basic, and they will change your life, because you need to know where you end and the other person's begin. especially when you're very sensitive and when you have a way to make your boundaries mentally, physically, spiritually, financially. You keep your boundaries, then you get to keep all of your energy, which I made 2 videos previously about that. It's all about we have all our energy, and then we can do pretty much whatever we want with our life, and we're not dragged around by emotions, and we are not, and we're healing our body as well along the way. I think a lot of my chemical sensitivity healing had to do with healing the nervous system, and also learning how to be out in the world. Like I do think that in those days, I mean, I pretty much stayed in my house. I did not go out, and I feel like I just, in those days, I was not prepared, mentally, physically, spiritually, energetically, whatever. So it's a little bit of a protection to stay inside of your cocoon because you can't go out. So there's a lot of, overlapping in metaphysics, this, that, and the other. I'm not discounting the physical element of chemical sensitivity. I was like physically very sick. I developed asthma. Like I just stopped breathing one day. Like that's, and I had a lot of, neurological symptoms and fatigue and all these things. But it's all wrapped up together. And I just wanted to get on and tell you that. Write in the comments, like, what's your experience of being sensitive? Do you think, what are the good parts? What are the bad parts? A lot of times we're always focusing on the bad parts, but that is just depressing. And when you're sensitive and you're depressed, you're going to get more depressed than the average person. So I make a lot of efforts to stay on the up, without getting without losing all of my sensitivity and emotions, because you can harden yourself too. When you're sensitive, you can create a huge shell. So it's tricky, everyone's dealing with this. Have a great day. Come to my abs program. We do abs every day. And we do some other mind-body practices, some meditation, some dance, some yoga. But we start with the abs challenge. It's $99 for 6 weeks. After that, it's only $59 a month for the whole gym. But you need that 6 weeks. Like you have to break through from being like, once you have 6 weeks, you're gonna have such a transformation. You're gonna go forever. I feel like a month isn't enough. Like you gotta really do that transformation, and I'll make sure you do it because I'll get after you if you disappear on me. Ciao.